Let's get an expert view. Chris de Lavigne, the Vice President of Industrial Practices at Frost Sullivan, joins me now on the line. Chris, thanks for joining us this morning. First of all, the food inflation debate is hotting up. It's very painful for China particularly. How does palm oil factor into all of this?
Well, clearly we've seen palm prices rise over the last year or so from lows around this time last year, and that's been due to supply constraints towards the back end of last year due to weather, and of course strong rise in commodities in general, whether they be metals or agri-commodities. And as you rightly said, food inflation helped to push those prices to a high back in February.
Why should the investor care about palm oil? Is it a huge factor in the food inflation concern?
I don't think it's necessarily a huge factor in the food inflation concern, but it's nonetheless a key commodity. And if you look at the region, Indonesia, Malaysia, the two largest players in the world, accounting for close to 90% of supplies. So a key commodity nonetheless.
And also in biofuels as well. That's another major factor, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Biofuels last year, biodiesel in particular, accounted for 18 million tonnes of production, and we forecast that will go up to about 20 million tonnes this year. So biodiesel accounting now for about 12% of veg oil consumption.
So, Chris, we have, supply is strong, demand is strong, overinflated prices, you can argue. The harvest is about to start. So what's the sort of next 3 months going to look like for palm oil prices? Should we be more concerned about food inflation going forward?
I think we need to be concerned about food inflation moving forward, but as you rightly mentioned, we're seeing the harvest come on, and palm has been supported for the last year due to supply constraints in part. I don't think we're going to see these supply constraints moving forward. I think there's a good bumper harvest coming up. I think that there's potentially also downward pressure on palm from the global economy, and I would actually expect to see palm prices come off anywhere up to 15% within the next 3 months.
Thanks for joining us there, Chris de Lavigne from Frost & Sullivan on the line from Singapore.